Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Welcome to another lecture, and in today's lecture we are going to continue with our chapter, A Christmas Carol written by Charles Dickens. So far we have read about Ebenezer Scrooge as a person who did not derive any pleasure in celebrating Christmas. He was first taken on a round by the ghost of Christmas past. He was shown himself in the school with his sister, and in his youth he was told about ballet. Then we come to the point when the arrival of Christmas present took place when the clock struck 1. So we are going to continue with that. I am the ghost of Christmas present, said the spirit. Look upon me, you have never seen the like of me before. So the ghost of Christmas present introduced himself to Ebenezer Scrooge by saying that, look at me, I am very sure you would not have seen anybody like me before. The spirit, said Scrooge submissively, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learnt a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it. So you can see the change which had come over in Scrooge only after meeting the first ghost. He said, Spirit, very submissively, very obediently, he said, that Spirit, conduct me where you will, take me wherever you want me to. I went forth last night on compulsion. He said that last night when the ghost of Christmas past wanted to take me, I went there unwillingly, I went there forcefully. But I learned a lesson which is working now. I can feel the change. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, aught, anything, if there's anything that you want to teach me, then please take me there and let me learn something from it as well. Touch my robe. So the ghost of Christmas present asked Scrooge to touch his robe. Now what is a robe? Robe is a kind of a gown which is worn on the top of the clothes, and it is very long. It goes on till your ankles. Scrooge did as he was told and held it fast. So Scrooge did it and he held that robe very, very tightly. The good spirit led him straight to Bob Cratchit's dwelling. And how did little Tim behave? Asked Mrs. Cratchit. Who is Bob Cratchit? Bob Cratchit is the clerk, Mr. Scrooge's clerk. Dwelling, house. So the first place where the ghost of Christmas present took Scrooge was the small house of Ebenezer Scrooge's clerk, Bob Cratchit. There, Mrs. Cratchit asked Mr. Cratchit, that is her husband, how did little Tim behave? Then how did Tim behave? As good as gold, said Bob, and better. He told me coming home that he hoped the people saw him in the church because he was a cripple and it might be pleasant to them to remember upon Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see. He says that little Tim is as good as gold. So he is a wonderful child. Then he told he told his wife that while coming back from the church, Tim told me that I hope that people saw me. People saw me as a cripple. Cripple is somebody who has a problem with the legs. Somebody who cannot walk without the crutches. Crutches we all know, we've seen people using the crutches to walk, so those are the crutches. So crippled people cannot walk, and little Tim was crippled. So he told his father that I would be very, very happy if people noticed me being a cripple, because then they would have prayed to God for me also. Because God is obviously the one who can make the beggars walk, the lame. Lame again, people who cannot walk properly. So he says that it is only God who can make a lame person walk and a blind person see. So if people will pray for me, maybe even I will get something in return. At last the dishes were set on and grace was said. So it was time for the dinner, the dishes were set, the entire dining table was set and graces were called. Graces were said means all the good things. They share all the good things with each other, about each other. Then all the Cratchit family drew round the hearth. A Merry Christmas to all. My dears, God bless us, proposed Bob, which all the family re-echoed. So they drew round the hearth means the entire family gathered around the hearth. Hearth means a place where fire is put. So they all gathered around the hearth after the dinner. They raised a toast which was raised by Bob. He said that a Merry Christmas to all my dears, God bless us. And the whole family re-echoed. Re-echoed, the whole family repeated that. God bless us, everyone, said Tiny Tim, the last of all. So at the end, Tiny Tim also repeated, he said that God bless us all. He said that Christmas was a humbug as I live, cried Scrooge's nephew. He believed it too. Now the picture suddenly changes to the house of Scrooge's nephew. The first place where the ghost of Christmas present took Ebenezer Scrooge was to the house of Bob Cratchit, where he saw that this clerk to whom he paid only 15 shillings a week, a salary of only 15 shillings a week, has a big family to look after. And he also saw that he had a young boy, he had a young son who was crippled and he needed money for his treatment as well. The second place where the ghost of Christmas present took Ebenezer Scrooge was to the house of his nephew. There, the nephew was talking to the other family members. He was telling them, he said that Christmas was a humbug as I live. So he was telling them that according to Uncle Scrooge, Christmas is useless. And not only did he say this, but he believed it also. More shame for him, Fred, said Scrooge's niece indignantly. She was very pretty, exceedingly pretty, and the sunniest pair of eyes you ever saw in any little creature's hand. Now, along with the nephew, there was a niece also, and she was a very, very pretty girl. She said that more shame for him, Fred. So, Fred is the name of the nephew. So, that niece said that shame on him, and she said that very indignantly. Indignantly means disrespectfully. So she did not like Scrooge saying or calling Christmas a humbug. She said he should be ashamed of saying that. And like I told you, she was very pretty, exceedingly pretty, means she was very, very pretty. And her eyes were very bright eyes, and she had obviously had a very beautiful structure. She had a very beautiful, physical appearance. I have no patience with him, observed Scrooge's niece. Scrooge's niece's sisters and all the other ladies expressed the same opinions. So, Scrooge's niece said that I have no patience with him. No patience with him. I cannot tolerate him any longer. And she also said this, and whatever sisters of this niece were there, they also expressed the same thing. They also thought that Scrooge was not somebody who could be tolerated so easily. Oh, I have, said Scrooge's nephew. I am sorry for him. I could not be angry with him if I tried. Who suffers by all his ill whims? Himself always. The consequence of his taking a dislike to us and not making merry with us is, as I think, that he loses some pleasant moments which could do him no harm. I mean to give him the same chance every year whether he likes it or not, for I pity him. He says that I have a different opinion about Uncle Scrooge. So Fred said that I feel sorry for him. Even if I try to, I don't feel angry on him at all. He says whatever ill whims, whatever ill thoughts, whatever bad thoughts he has in his mind, who suffers by them? He. He is the only one who is suffering because of whatever is muddled up in his head. He says the consequence of his taking a dislike, consequence means result, that he did not want to be with us today. He did not want to make merry with us today. What is the result of it? It did not do us any harm. We are celebrating the way we had to. But who is suffering? It is him. Because had he been with us, then obviously it would have been a good day for him. Nothing wrong would have taken place. He says that every year I am going to ask him to celebrate Christmas with us. Every year I would expect him to celebrate Christmas with us because I feel sorry for him. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the old man, whatever he is, said Scrooge's nephew. He would not take it from me, but may he have it, nevertheless, Uncle Scrooge. Now this nephew of Scrooge was such a kind soul, he actually raised a toast for Uncle Scrooge, wishing him a good health, a good year and a good Christmas. He said that he would not take it from me. Means we all read that when this nephew was wishing him, he did not reply to him. The only reply that Uncle Scrooge had was good afternoon. So he said that he would not take any wishes from me, but I want to give them to him. I want him to be happy, healthy and merry. Scrooge wished to stay, but the ghost whisked him away. Scrooge found himself once again sitting in his bed as the clock struck 12 once. So, Scrooge wished to stay, he wanted to be there, but the ghost whisked him away. Whisked him very quickly, the ghost took him away. And one more time, the Scrooge was found on his bed and the clock struck 2. A spirit stood before him, shrouded in deep black garment, which concealed its head, its face and its form. Ghost of the future, Scrooge exclaimed, I fear you more than any spectre I have seen. But as I know your purpose is to do me good, and I am prepared to bear your company. So a spirit again stood before him, and he was shrouded, covered. He was covered with a black colored garment, a black colored cloth, which concealed, which covered, which totally covered, and that was hiding his head, his face and his entire form. Form means his body. So everything was covered. The moment Scrooge saw him, he exclaimed, are you the ghost of future? He says that I fear you more than any spectre I have seen. Spectre, anything that I've seen, any other view. He said that I have been with the ghost of past, I've been with the ghost of present. But going with you is making me very, very scared and fearful. But as I know your purpose is to do me good. He says that I know that you only wish to do me good. I know you have only good intentions for me. And therefore I am prepared to bear your company. I am prepared to go with you wherever you take me to. The silent spirit moved away as it had come towards him. Scrooge followed in the shadow of its robe. So that spirit, it started moving away as quietly as it had come. And Scrooge was also standing in the shadow of his robes, and he also started going with him. The spirit stopped beside one little knot of businessmen. Observing that the hand was pointed to them, Scrooge advanced to listen to their talk. So the spirit stopped behind a little knot. So there were a group of businessmen who were standing and talking to each other. The spirit stopped there and he pointed his finger towards them. So when he did that, Scrooge went nearer to them so that he could listen to what they were talking about. No, said a great fat man with a monstrous chin. I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead. When did he die? Inquired another. Last night, I believe. So they were talking about the death of somebody. So there was one fat man who had a monstrous chin. Monstrous is derived from the word monster. So he had a monster looking face and he said that I don't know much about it. The only thing I know is that he is dead. The other man inquired, the other man asked, when did he die? And he replied that I think he died last night. Scrooge knew the men and looked towards the spirit for an explanation, but it remained silent. The street vanished and Scrooge found himself in a bedroom where a shrouded form lay on the bed. Scrooge said, Spirit, who is he? I would look if I could, but I haven't the power that lonely body in the dark will ever haunt. So Scrooge knew those men. They were his business partners. So he looked at the ghost, he looked at the spirit with a lot of questions in his brain. He wanted the spirit to explain to him whose death they were talking about, but the spirit did not say anything. In turn, what happened? The street vanished. So the street that was there in front of Scrooge, that disappeared, and what was there in front of him was a bedroom where a shrouded form lay on the bed. Shrouded, again, covered. So a dead body was lying on the bed. It was covered. Scrooge said, that spirit, please tell me, who is he? I would have surely looked at the face of this man, but I do not have the courage to do that, because if I would, the spirit of this lonely body, the fact that this person has died and is alone, there is nobody to take his dead body with them, there is nobody to bury the dead body. This face is going to bother me, haunt me. This face is going to bother me for the whole of my life. The spirit then took him to Bob Cratchit's house, where he sees Bob and his wife sorrowfully talk of Tiny Tim's death. Tell me, spirit, why did Tiny Tim have to die? Asked Scrooge. The spirit made no response, but whirled Scrooge away to a graveyard, where he pointed towards a grave. Scrooge weeps. Ebenezer Scrooge. He cried out, No, spirit, oh no, no, hear me. I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been but for this lesson. I will honor Christmas in my heart. So after that dead body, Scrooge was taken by the ghost to the house of Bob Cratchit, where Bob Cratchit and his wife were talking sorrowfully. They were very sad and were talking about the death of their son Tiny Tim. Scrooge asked the spirit that, Tell me, spirit, why did Tiny Tim die? The spirit did not give any response, but whirled him to a graveyard. Whirled him just like the wind. He was taken to a graveyard, and the spirit pointed to a grave. Ebenezer Scrooge read what was written on the grave, and it read Ebenezer Scrooge. So it was his grave. He started crying. He said, No, spirit, no, no. I am not the man I was, and I'm going to change myself. The lesson that you three have taught me, I am going to remember that. I am going to respect Christmas in my heart. So what was the connection? The people who were talking about somebody's death, whom they were not even worried about, was nobody else but Ebenezer Scrooge. The person whose dead body was lying unattended in the room was nobody but Ebenezer Scrooge. Then he saw little Tim who died. Why did he die? Because obviously Bob Cratchit did not have the money to save him. And at the end he saw himself, he saw his grave in front of him. And everything made him realize that if he's not going to change his ways, then not only will he suffer, but the others around him are also going to suffer along. Scrooge went out on the street. He had not gone far when, coming towards him, he beheld the portly gentleman who had walked into his counting house the day before. It sent a pang across his heart to think how this old gentleman would look upon him when they met. But he knew what path lay straight before him, and he took it. So Scrooge, now after he had seen this, the spirit of the future disappeared, and Scrooge was on a street. He started walking on the street. He had not gone far when he when he saw the fat gentleman, the same gentleman who had come to his office the day before asking for donation. And the moment he saw him, it sent a pang across his heart. It actually gave him a big thud in his heart. His heartbeat actually increased when he thought that this gentleman, what will he think when he will see me? How will he react when he will see me? And since he knew where that path was leading to, he decided to just keep on moving straight. "My dear sir," said Scrooge, quickening his pace and taking the old gentleman by both his hands, "how do you do? I hope you succeeded yesterday. It was very kind of you. A Merry Christmas to you, sir." So Scrooge came in front of that man. He quickened his pace. Quickening his pace, he started walking very quickly so that he could come closer to that man as soon as he could. So that old gentleman was standing in front of him. He held that gentleman with both his hands and he said that, how do you do, sir? I hope you succeeded yesterday. He said that I hope that you have done what you wanted to do yesterday, the donation that you were collecting, you have done that. It was very kind of you. Wish you a Merry Christmas. Now Scrooge wishing somebody a Merry Christmas, just imagine. Mr. Scrooge. So that portly gentleman was very surprised. He asked that, "Mr. Scrooge?" "Yes," said Scrooge, "that is my name, and I fear it may not be pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your pardon, and will you have the goodness," here Scrooge whispered in his ear. "Lord bless me," cried the gentleman, as if his breath was gone. "My dear Mr. Scrooge, are you serious?" So Scrooge said that, "Yes, my name is Scrooge, and I am sure that you would not feel very good on knowing my name or on meeting me. But allow me to ask your pardon." Allow me to ask your pardon means please allow me to ask you again. And what did he want to ask? He wanted to ask if he could give the donation now for which he had said no earlier. So this Scrooge whispered in his ear. So very quietly Scrooge asked this from that fat man in his ears. The gentleman, as soon as Scrooge asked this, he said that, "Sir, Are you serious? So his breath were gone. He did not believe that Mr. Scrooge, who was a very miser person, miser, somebody who is very stingy, who does not believe in spending money on anybody else. So Mr. Scrooge, being such a miser person, was asking if he could give the donation. This actually, made that person feel very, very surprised. Scrooge said that if you please, that if you please allow me, I would love to make the donation. Not a farthing less, a great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favor? He said that, and whatever donation I will be giving you will not be a very little amount, but will have a lot of my back payments in it. So there is a lot of money that I have to take from somebody else. I have to collect a lot of money from the other people, and whatever money I am going to collect, I am going to just give it to you. Will you do me that favor? Will you allow me to do that? My dear sir, said the other, shaking hands with him, I don't know what to say to such munificence. So that person to whom Scrooge was giving the money, he shook hands with Uncle Scrooge and he said that I really don't know how to react to such munificence. Munificence means to such generosity. You have such a big heart. You are giving me something so big, so important. I really don't know how am I supposed to react to it. Don't say anything, please, retorted Scrooge. Come and see me. Will you come and see me? So he said that don't say anything, replied Scrooge. Just come and meet me. Will you come and meet me? I will, cried the old gentleman, and it was clear he meant to do it. Thank you, said Scrooge. I am much obliged to you. I thank you 50 times. Bless you. So the old gentleman said, of course, I will come and will meet you. And from his voice, it was very, very clear that he was actually planning to go back to Scrooge and to meet him. Scrooge thanked him. He said that I am very grateful, I am very obliged, I am very thankful to you. And I thank you 50 times. Bless you. He went to church and walked about the streets and watched the people hurrying to and fro and patted children on the head and questioned beggars and looked down into the kitchens of the houses and up to the windows and found that everything could yield him pleasure. He had never dreamed that anything could give him so much happiness. In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew's house. So, after that gentleman, he went to the church. He was walking on the streets. He watched the people hurrying to and fro. He saw the people running here and there. There were children on the road and he patted them on their head. Patting with a lot of love and affection when you pat somebody. Okay, so very lovingly he patted the kids on their head. There were beggars. He talked to the beggars. He looked into the kitchens of the people. He looked through the windows of the houses of the people and he realized that everything that he was doing actually yielded him pleasure. He was getting happiness from everything that he did. He had never dreamed that anything could give him so much happiness. So he never thought that something could give him so much happiness. In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew's house. So in the afternoon, he started going to his nephew's house. Is your master at home, my dear? Said Scrooge to the girl. Yes, sir. Where is he, my love? Said Scrooge. He is in the dining room, sir, along with mistress. I'll show you upstairs if you please. So he went to his nephew's room. There was a girl who opened the door. So Scrooge asked that little girl that is your master home? And the girl said, yes, sir. Scrooge very lovingly asked him that where is he, my love? And the girl said that he's upstairs, he's in the dining room with the mistress, with his wife. I can take you upstairs if you want. Scrooge said, thank you, he knows me. With his hand already on the dining room lock, I'll go in here, my dear. So Scrooge told that girl, thank you very much, but he knows me. So I can take care of myself. I'll go upstairs on my own. The moment he entered the dining room and he saw the nephew, he called out his name. Fred? Why, bless my soul, cried Fred. Who's that? It's I, your Uncle Scrooge. I've come to dinner. Will you let me in, Fred? Let him in. It is a mercy he did not shake his arm off. Nothing could be heartier. His knees looked just the same. So did everyone when they came. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful happiness. So Fred was very surprised. He said, who's that? And Uncle Scrooge said that it is me, your uncle, and I have come to have dinner with you. Will you let me in? Will you let me have it? And then obviously it has been told that it is a mercy he did not shake his arm off, that there was not even a single person who did not treat him nicely. Everything was very, very good. Nothing could be heartier, means nothing could be better. His knees looked just the same, as beautiful as she was earlier. She just looked the same. Everyone in the house treated him with a lot of love, respect and attention. There was a wonderful party, there were wonderful games, and he had a wonderful time as well. Hello, growled Scrooge in his unaccustomed voice, as near as he could feign it. What do you mean by coming here at this time of day? I am very sorry, sir, said Bob. I am behind my time. You are? Repeated Scrooge. Yes, I think you are. Step this way, if you please. It's only once a year, sir, pleaded Bob. I shall not repeat it. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir. So now the dinner time is over. The next day began. It was morning, and as he had told his clerk, Bob Cratchit, to come to the office early, so he came, and Scrooge growled. He actually, called out his name very, very loudly. He said, hello. And he was trying to feign it. He was just trying to pretend. He was just trying to show off that he was angry. But he wasn't. He scolded Bob Cratchit by, in a fake manner. So he asked, what do you mean by coming here at this time of the day? That why have you come so late? Bob Cratchit said that I'm very sorry, sir. I'm behind my time, that I am late. Scrooge said, you are? Yes, you are. Step this way, if you please. You can go out if you want. Bob Cratchit started requesting him. He said, sir, it is only once a year. It is only Christmas that we make merry. It is not going to be repeated. The reason why I am late is because we were making rather merry yesterday. I had a wonderful time with my family yesterday, and therefore I am a bit late. Now I'll tell you what, my friend, said Scrooge. I am not going to stand this sort of thing any longer. And therefore, he continued, leaping from his stool and giving Bob Cratchit such a dig in the waistcoat that he staggered. And therefore, I am about to raise your salary. So Scrooge said that, you know what, my friend, I am not going to tolerate this kind of a behavior any longer. And therefore, and when he said that, he got up from the stool that he was sitting on and he gave a dig in the waistcoat. Dig means he just, gave a fist in the waistcoat. This is a kind of a friendly gesture, as we all know, when you usually do it with your friends, giving a fist bump, giving a high five, giving a fist in the stomach of the opposite person. So he did exactly that. And he thumped him so bad that Bob Cratchit actually staggered. He actually got a little off his place. He said, Scrooge continued, that I am going to raise your salary. Bob trembled and got a little nearer to the ruler. He had a momentary idea of knocking Scrooge down with it, holding him and calling to the people outside for help and a straight waistcoat. When Bob heard this, that Scrooge was about to raise his salary, he trembled. He started shivering. He saw that there was a ruler which was kept near him. He thought of picking it up, of hitting Scrooge with that ruler, so that he would fall. Bob Cratchit would hold him, and he would call people from outside with a straight waistcoat. Straight waistcoat is given to those people who are mad. So when a mad person is taken to a mental asylum, this is the kind of cloth that he is made to wear. So Bob Cratchit thought that Ebenezer Scrooge had gone mad. He thought that he is going, completely off track. So he thought of hitting him on the head so that then he would lose control and he would ask people to help him take him to a mental asylum. "A Merry Christmas, Bob," said Scrooge with an earnestness that could not be mistaken, as he clapped him on the back. "A merrier Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I have given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary and endeavour to assist your struggling family. Bob, make up the fires and buy some more coal before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit." So he told Bob that wish you a very Merry Christmas, and the kind of earnestness, the kind of seriousness that was there in Scrooge's eyes, could not be mistaken. So there was nothing wrong. Scrooge was very serious, and he again wished him a Merry Christmas. And he told Bob Cratchit that I am very sorry. I will make sure that your Christmas is merrier now than it had been earlier. I will raise your salary and I will also endeavor, I will also try to assist, to help your family, your family which is struggling. I am going to help you. After this, he told Bob to make up the fires, to burn the fire, and he said that now get back to work, buy some more coal before it becomes very, very cold. And with this, my dear students, we come to the end of this very, very beautiful chapter. We read that this is a story about Ebenezer Scrooge, a man who was obviously very cruel. He was a cold-hearted man. He was very mean. He did not believe in Christmas at all. We saw that his nephew had come to wish him a Merry Christmas, but he did not reply him. We also saw that he mocked at his clerk, who wished his nephew a Merry Christmas by saying that somebody who earns only 15 shillings a week is considering Christmas to be happy. He said no to the gentleman who had come to ask for donation by saying that if I don't celebrate Christmas, I cannot give money for idle people. He went back home, he slept, but as the clock struck 12, he was woken up by a spirit, the ghost of Christmas past. The ghost of Christmas past took him to his school where he was a very small boy. He was all alone. There was nobody with whom he could celebrate his Christmas. Then the ghost took him to the time when he was older and he saw his sister coming to him, telling him that the father had sent her to bring him home. With this, the ghost wanted Scrooge to realize that his sister loved him a lot, but in return, Scrooge did not offer the same love onto her son, that is his nephew Fred. Then the ghost of past showed him Belly, who wanted to marry Scrooge, but Scrooge said no to her just because he wanted to earn money. Then was the turn for Ghost of Christmas Present. The Ghost of Christmas Present showed him the house of Bob Cratchit. He saw that despite earning a very little money, he was happy. He saw that his little son, Tiny Tim, was crippled and he did not have the money for his treatment. He also saw his nephew Fred's home, where he saw that despite the fact that he was very rude to Fred only wished good for him. He only wished the best for his uncle. At the end, the Ghost of Christmas Future showed him a group of people who were talking about somebody's death. That person was Ebenezer Scrooge, because then the ghost took him to a room where a man was lying alone, a dead body was lying alone without anybody to take him. We also saw that the Ghost of Future took him to Bob Cratchit's house, where he and his wife mourning over the death of their son Tiny Tim. And all these things made Scrooge realize his mistake. He realized that the spirit of Christmas is to be happy. Thus, he met the man who had come for taking the donation. He asked him to pay him a huge amount. He was looking into the houses of the people and was deriving happiness out of it. He went to meet his friend, his nephew Fred, and celebrated Christmas dinner with his family. And at the end, in the morning, he promised Bob of raising his salary and of also supporting his family in the hard times. And this clearly shows that Christmas indeed is a time to be happy, to be kind, to be charitable, and to be benevolent to people who need that. So my dear students, with this we come to the end of the explanation of the chapter. The back exercises of this chapter I am going to cover in the next part of my video. So I'll see you all now in my next lecture.